Okay, so now running along in my Hoka Skyward X, and yeah, over this 100-mile period, it served me well actually, particularly on long, slow runs, and I think that's where this shoe in particular shines. And I think, interestingly, I think it's in almost like a category on its own. There aren't too many shoes like this, which, you know, it's a slow run shoe really. It's a heavy shoe, very cushioned and protective. You know, you got somewhere around the 50mm stack height in this shoe on the heel, and a good wedge under your forefoot. So it's very protective. But you're up at 320 odd grams, maybe more, in my UK size 9 in terms of weight. So it's not a shoe that I would describe in any shape or form as nimble or fast, but you can pick up the pace in the shoe because of the plate. It's got a nice concave plate, and it's got some really nice foam. You know, it's a blend of race foam, a Pima blend, and you can feel it actually. It's Hoka have done a good job with this shoe in the sense that they've produced something a bit unique. You've got a slow run shoe that feels nice to run slow. You could run a marathon or even an ultra in this shoe, and given its massive stack, it feels fairly stable because of how wide the base is. Let me just get past. So yeah, it's a tank of a shoe, but one which I feel if you were to buy, you could get a lot of use out of it, particularly on those long weekend runs where you're going to have to go somewhere, you know, between 15 and 20 miles, and you just want to be, you're not in your specific training phase for a marathon, you're just building up mileage, so you don't want to go too fast. This shoe is perfect. Let me just go. I think yeah, like I said, there aren't too many shoes like this. I'm struggling. I mean, I've got the More V5, New Balance More V5 at the moment. Obviously, it hasn't got a plate, and I think, you know, for marathon length and beyond, you're going to start to see, even with that huge wedge, the foam bottoming out a bit, which probably won't happen in this shoe because of the plate. Well, I know it won't happen because I've taken this 20 miles and it was fine. I mean, if I ever did an ultra and it was the one that wasn't on a technical trail somewhere, this would be quite high up in my list of potential shoes to wear, depending on how, you know, I might be a bit cautious with my first ultra. I've never done one before, so I might rather wear something like this than the Prime X Strung, or the you know, version 2 Prime X Strung, where it's a bit more stable but a lot more propulsive. This I think would be far easier on my legs, both cushioned, but this has got that nice soft cushion and that concave plate. It's really nice. That gives you a nice spring upwards rather than jolts you forward like with the Prime X Strung. So yeah, I think this would be a great shoe to do an ultra in. And yeah, I think I would recommend this shoe quite a lot actually, for those who are marathon training and aren't particularly well, maybe want to do a lot of long runs but not rapid pace, you're doing like zone 2 training, I think this could be a good shoe. And I think generally it's going to look after your legs a lot. Just get past. In terms of durability over this 100 miles, that I have seen somewhere in the outsole, and I've scuffed the side of these shoes quite a bit actually, and the paint's come off and a bit of the foam is worn a little bit, so I'm not feeling like they're the most durable. They're nowhere near like a Super Blast, that kind of thing, but they're still perfectly fine. In terms of the foam itself, I've got the same bounce now that I had after 10 miles, so yeah, very nice in that respect. So yeah, I haven't got any worries about the foam lasting really. It is a heavy shoe though, so on those long runs you may, particularly if you're doing hills, you'll start to feel how heavy this shoe is. That said, with the plate, it doesn't feel as heavy as it actually is for a lot of those runs. I personally prefer to train in heavier shoes anyway, and then for race day I'll wear a lighter shoe, and so this is a really good shoe to eat up those miles, and then when you get near a race, I don't know, 5-6 weeks out, switch to the Prime X Shrunk 2 and start doing more specific training where you're hitting marathon pace for like 10 to 15 miles of your long run. That would be a good option. You could pair the two, your marathon training. This could be your slow run shoe and your long run shoe, and then once you get nearer the race and you want to do more specific training runs, put on your Prime X Strung and go at marathon pace. You could even race in your Prime X Strung. You could even race in this Skyward X, to be honest. I wouldn't be totally against that. Say I got a marathon coming up, my legs aren't feeling good, I don't want to pull out. These would be a really good option to get you through the marathon if that's all you want to do. I just don't think they're the best shoe to go quickly in a marathon, but that's not always the objective, right? If the objective is to finish the marathon and you're not too bothered about time, then this would be a good shoe. Otherwise you could run in the Prime X, like I said, or you could have a 3 shoe rotation of the Skyward X, Prime X, and then something like the Endorphin Elite for your marathon itself, which is a lot lighter, a bit more aggressive. And what I like about that rotation is each time you're going up a little bit in aggressiveness of shoe. So by the time you get to the marathon, you'll be used to running in an aggressive shoe like the Saucony Endorphin Elite, for instance. But yeah, this is a great shoe, Skyward X. I can't recommend it highly enough. Just putting it on again reminds me how nice it is. It's more fun than the More V5 actually, which is pretty fun. And money aside, if you gave me a choice of the 2 shoes, I would go with this one. Despite what it looks like, I'm not a fan of the look of this shoe, although the more recent colourways are nicer. This one reminds me of a toothpaste two-slip paste brand called Aquafresh. And I wasn't a big fan of that either. But yeah, I digress. If you force me to choose between this and the More V5, tough choice, but I would go with this. And the fact that this has got a plate in it wouldn't particularly worry me, because it's, like I said, it's a concave plate, so the bounce is upwards rather than forwards, so it's going to be less of an issue on your Achilles, which can sometimes be a problem with plated shoes. Actually, mentioning Achilles, I should mention one of the downsides of the shoe. It's got like quite a high heel counter at the back, and those with sensitive if you've got sensitive Achilles, that can actually it can rub quite a bit, so that's something to check out. It's probably the biggest downside of the shoe, actually, that quite high heel counter that some people are not going to get on with. I'm okay with it. I prefer if it wasn't quite as high, but occasionally it rubs my Achilles and causes some irritation, but not too often, thankfully. More often than not, this is a pleasure to run in this shoe, and one which I think Hoka have done a good job with. The only other comment I would say before I go into the gym for a minute to do some stretches is the grip's not the best. It's tier 2. It's not bad, but it's not the best. And I've just run on wet ground, and it's reminding me of that. It's wearing a little bit as well, so, but all in all, pretty good. And like the plaque says, every step counts. See you later. So, kind of final thoughts then on the Hoka Skyward X. I think it's a brilliant shoe, like I said, for long, slow runs. You get a lot of protection, so if you're going to do a lot of mileage for a marathon, this would be a great shoe to have in your rotation. Don't expect to do quick tempo runs very easily in this shoe, although you could do it. It's not designed for that. I would have it right in that long, slow run section of your rotation, or recovery run even, you could do in this shoe. You get a lot of cushion, a lot of bounce, but not uncontrollable bounce. So not like the Prime X, which is a wild stallion. This is more like a thoroughbred, one that's maybe aged a bit heavier, experienced, and something that's going to get you from A to B, but is top quality nevertheless. And that's what this shoe is, top quality. You pay for quality in life, and you're going to pay for this. Around, you see it anywhere between £180, £200, so not cheap. But I think worth it, given how much use you're going to get out of this. Negatives, if there are any, the heel counter, like I mentioned, can aggravate the heel a bit. The weight would be great if they could get it slightly down. Some use cases for you. If you're going to be running a half marathon, or even an ultra, and you want a shoe that's going to protect you, cushion you, and get you to the end in comfort, this is your shoe. It's got a plate, a concave plate, so it's going to give you that little bounce. It's got a massive Peva foam, so you're going to have that nice foamy spring and cushion. So it's going to be a comfort shoe, but one with a lot of bounce and a plush feel. So, like I said, if I had a half marathon tomorrow and my legs were feeling terrible and I just wanted to get it done and get the medal, these would be pretty much number one pick for me, because I know, not bothered about time or anything, I know they're going to protect me and allow my legs to remain strong all the way to the finish. And they're not light, they're not nimble, but they are a good shoe when you want to just get from A to B. So that's one use case. Another use case is, marathon training. I've got a 20-mile run tomorrow. My legs are really not feeling it, but I want to get that running. Again, these shoes would be high up on my list, if not number one, of doing the run. I think there would be a couple of caveats there. There's a lot of hills in that run. I might pick a lighter shoe. And for those that do more kind of traily, technical terrain, they may not be your first pick. But for the vast majority of long runs where you just want to get through it and get the mileage, these would be perfect. They're a great shoe. Hoka really smashed it out the park this year with their offerings. I mean, we had this yellow, one of my favourite race day shoes, but also lots of people use it as a long run training shoe. That's the yellow, and then you have the Hoka X2, which I really like as a tempo shoe. Something where I wouldn't necessarily race in it, but I might do some tempo sessions in it where I'm picking up the pace a little bit. Maybe a fairly quick 10k, something like that, where you don't want to necessarily use your race day shoes and wear them out. You could throw the Hoka Max 6 at them, and then you've got this Skyward X as your long, slow run shoe, recovery run shoe. That feels good when you're running it. It gives you that nice little spring to protect your legs. So kind of that's all I want to say. Great shoe, Skyward X. I mean, I'll let you guys decide, but for me, it's one of the shoes of the year. I know there are a lot of reviewers who think it's too heavy. Same people who thought the Prime X Strung was too heavy and the second version too heavy. Not too heavy, just using it for a different use case. I think with this shoe and the Prime X Strung 2, the thing that confused people the most was the plates. They equated a plate to a race day shoe, and more recently we've seen a lot of shoes with plates in them that aren't race day shoes, and I think people are gradually getting round to that idea. But a plate doesn't automatically equal a shoe you're going to race in. You can use plate for other reasons, And this concave plate is not there for any race reason. It's there to give you a nice bounce and protect your legs. And does a good job with this Skyward X. There'll be, sorry I know it's noisy this morning, I'm on the main road here. There'll be a lot of people who would rather you use a non-plated shoe, you know, for these kind of runs, and that's fine. You've got, like I said, you've got the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V5 that I've reviewed recently. Perfectly good shoe, right up there with this. Just lacks the nice kind of bounce that this shoe has. Super Blast, obviously. You've got Neo Vista that's got a plate, but it's nylon. Same with the Speed 4, Saucony Speed 4. So they're there's quite a few options where you don't have to have a carbon plate. I just think in this case it really works. And I'll shut up now. See you later. I think another thing it's worth mentioning, I see a lot of reviews trying to compare this to the Prime X, basically because it's got a plate and it's also matte stack. Nothing like the Prime X or Prime X Sprung 2. It's a completely different shoe. You can race and race hard in those shoes. In this shoe, this is about comfort. The plate is convex so that it provides comfort and bounce rather than propulsion. So, you know, don't get caught up in the kind of hype that this Skyward X is another Prime X. It's not. It's very much a different shoe, but just as good in many ways, but for different reasons. So when you buy this, don't expect it to be like the Prime X, because it isn't. It's far tamer beast. But sometimes tame is good, right? Like sometimes we want to be able to kind of control our ride a bit, as opposed to be dominated by a shoe. And Prime X2 in particular is one of the first shoes I've ever used I almost felt was dominating me rather than the other way around, which is a strange sensation. But anyway, I just thought I'd add that bit in case there was some confusion. Definitely not a Prime X substitute. It's a different shoe. You can actually pair them up in rotation pretty well, which I'll talk about later. Bye bye. Hi everyone, this is Ed from Runnable, and this is my 100-mile review of the Hoka Skyward X. So in this review we'll talk a little bit about the shoe, what it was like to run with this shoe, you know, over the 100 miles, how it fared, how durable it is, my likes, dislikes around this shoe, also how I would pair this shoe in terms of your rotation and potential marathon training, and finally some of the competition for this shoe. So in terms of this shoe, very quickly, it's quite a heavy shoe, 320 grams in my UK size 9. I went true to size. I think you can go true to size, and it is a snug fit, but this material does flex eventually, so it kind of flexes to your foot shape, so it should be fine true to size. But if you're on the borders, maybe go half a size up just to make sure, because it is quite a snug fit. You've got a massive stack height of 48 in the heel, 43 in the forefoot, giving that 5mm drop, and you've got quite a nice rocker here, so the geometry of this shoe is quite nice for kind of those rolling miles where you just want to keep going and cruising. The upper, as I said, it's got a reasonably wide forefoot. It's got a very plush, thick tongue, which you can cinch the laces down. It's got some padding around the heel counter, heel collar, sorry, not that much, but enough to feel secure. And you've got a very rigid heel counter here that goes up quite high. So this is the only downside I find with the upper, is how high this goes up, and it could cause some Achilles irritation. So if you've got sensitive Achilles, this might not work for you. I found it was okay. I did feel it now and again, but not enough to stop me running in this shoe, to be honest. So upper really good. Outsole, you can see over the 100 miles, it started to wear the tread around, around this area here, where I land. It's not too bad, to be honest. Just, you can see light wear here as opposed to this side. So it's lasted pretty well, to be honest. I think it seems quite a durable shoe. I think the outsole itself isn't the most grippy, but it's grippy enough. So it's kind of tier 2. It's kind of there with the Saucony grip, but it's nowhere near as grippy as, say, the Continental Rubber in Adidas or the Puma grip. It's that tier 2. So durability wise, it's fared quite well. It's got a lot of rubber coverage, as you can see. The midsole, it's Puma, and it's as springy as bouncy at 100 miles as it was at 10. It's really good. Really love this foam. Hoka really got something here with their Puma foam. It's got a nice bounce to it. This concave plate means that when you compress it, it gives a nice bounce, but it's an upwards bounce as opposed to a forward bounce. It's not as crazy as this shoe, the Prime X Strong 2, Adidas Prime X Strong 2, which really propels you forward. This kind of gives you a nice bounce upwards. So it's very much more of a shoe for long miles, slow miles, and feeling good and cushioned as you run. And that's how I would assess it over the 100 miles. This has been my saviour for days when I felt very kind of lethargic, or my legs have been aching, or I've done a really hard workout the day before. This has come to be my saviour. I put these on, and they're amazing for doing those slow, long miles in. This is your mileage eater. It's not your speed shoe. It's got a plate, and it's often misunderstood because it's got that plate. People are expecting it to compare well with this in terms of speed. It won't. It's not that kind of shoe. And in fact, you could use the two together. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is more about getting, you've got a 20-mile run. You want to get through it. Your legs aren't great, but you want to get the mileage in. You put this on. This will get you through it because it'll protect you. It's got the cushion. It'll keep you bopping along, but it won't do anything out of the ordinary in terms of propulsion. You can control this shoe, whereas this shoe is like a wild stallion. This is like a normal horse, right? You can control it. So I think it has a good place within a rotation. And for me, it would be a long, slow run shoe. And like I said, over the 100 miles, I think this has been an amazing shoe for me. I used it in my base training a lot in that period of time when you're getting your fitness. Those initial 6 weeks where you want to get your fitness, you want to start building up your mileage. This has been amazing. It's not, for me, it's not a good workout shoe where I want to go at marathon pace or even a little bit quicker. Then I would turn to something like the Prime X Strong 2, and I would use potentially them in tandem actually for my recovery runs, and this for my speed work and long marathon pace runs. So I wouldn't see these as rivals at all. I would see them as shoes that could complement each other. And that's the way I would view it. And I've seen some reviews that have played these up against each other. And I don't think that's really a fair review, really. I think this has very much got its use case for these slow, protective, long runs. And this is your dynamic stallion of a shoe where you want to go fast, marathon pace, even quicker. And you want to really let your legs go, because this is not good at slow paces. So yeah, in rotation, I would say recovery shoe, long, slow run shoe. So what did I like about the shoe? I think I mentioned quite a lot. I like the upper, apart from this. Love the foam, love the responsiveness, love the little bounce you get, love how protective it is. It's very durable, lots I like. The only couple of things that maybe I didn't like is this heel counter here goes up too high. I wish they could reduce that a little bit. And also, it's a bulky shoe, it's a heavy shoe, so sometimes if I'm doing a long run and I hit a few hills, I really feel it in this shoe. But because of the plate, I don't feel it as much as you might. So kind of they're my likes and dislikes. The other thing is it is £180, so it's not cheap. So if you compare it with a potential competitor, which is the New Balance More V5, which hasn't got a plate, this is £40 cheaper or £45 cheaper. I can't remember. You can get some really good deals on this. I saw this at £97 the other day. So if you can get it at that price, this is a no-brainer. I slightly prefer this shoe just because of the plate and the bounce, but they're very similar, and you could use them for very similar use cases for those long runs, slow runs. But potentially I would use this for a marathon or an ultra even, where I'm not too worried about time, I just want to get through it. Whereas I probably wouldn't use this. This has got that assistance from the plate and this doesn't. So that's why you're paying for that extra £40, right? You're getting more from this shoe. This won't bottom out at all, whereas this might over that kind of distance. But if money's an option, then you'd obviously go with the More V5. Not an option, sorry, you go for the More V5 because this is a much better value for money and they're quite similar in many ways. Another shoe which is often compared with it is the Super Blast. Personally, I think they're quite different. I see this as being quicker, it's firmer, it's not as fun as of a ride. This is much more fun, more bouncy. But this is definitely more of a tempo shoe for me than this will ever be. Again, you could use this for a marathon, half marathon, it would work fine. But you're likely to get more speed out of this shoe than you will this, and it's a lighter shoe. It's just 260 grams as opposed to the 320, 330 you've got here. This is very much a similar sort of weight, these two shoes. I see these as as similar shoes. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I love this shoe. I highly recommend it. I think anyone who's looking for that shoe that will get them through a half marathon or a marathon where you're not bothered about time, or an ultra, great shoe. Very comfy, bouncy. It's pricey, but then you're paying for a lot here. And it's quite durable, and I think it's lasted very well for me. So 100 miles, thumbs up to the Hoka Skyward X. Hoka's absolutely smashing it this year with the Cielo, the Mac X2. You've got a complete rotation there of shoes. So, and this is one of my favourite shoes of the year, for sure. Anyway, see you later. Bye-bye.